Yeah, well, it's not like this is a one in a trillion odd chance.
It is.
Because we have these cosmic rays hitting us all the time.
You can say, though, the odds are astronomical.
Yeah.
That was terrible. Your jokes are bad.
Well, that took me a second to get.
Bad.
I've only been waiting all day to deliver that line.
What he hasn't told you
That
is
took me a second, Trevor.
it took him 2 hours of research before he actually came up with that joke.
Worth it.
When things are wrong, I'll be by your side. Even when you want to cry.
Stop it.
Stop it.
Phone delay.
Welcome to the
They're
Naked Apple.
like,
Keith is phoning in because he's trying to show that he's a responsible parent or something like that. I don't know.
it's a compromise. My wife and I came to a compromise. We wanted to go to a book club or something, and so I'm at home watching one of our kids.
And by
while she goes
watching,
to that.
and by watching, he means
I mean-
he knocked out their child, and now he can do whatever he wants, like record a podcast.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Yeah,
Priorities,
like most men our age do.
like most men our age do. Can you watch the kids tonight? Yeah, sure, I can knock him out.
A little bit of Benadryl goes a long way.
Since apparently Dr.
How
Good
did
is
you
frowned
know?
upon, we'll just use a little Benadryl. That's fine. Yes, it should be fun.
Yep.
But not quite as fun as our weekly dose of what is a vitamin B.
Vitamin B. Welcome to your vitamin B.
Oh, thank you. I didn't contribute to the music. I feel bad now.
You should feel bad.
Missed my cue.
Your jokes are bad and you should feel bad.
Your boos mean nothing. I've seen what makes you cheer.
Speaking of people cheering, unemployment among talking candies hits a record high under Biden administration.
Thank you, Tucker Carlson.
Oh, man.
Yes, indeed, indeed. In other news, ESG hits a new all-time high as environmentally conscious cowboys take herd of crickets out to pasture. Yep. Along those same lines, Netflix Narnia adaptation has announced that they are to feature the first black-white witch. Yes.
I wouldn't put it past them.
Yes.
No, not at all.
In some more somber news, just an idea burns down Atlanta.
It's just an idea.
Speaking
Referring
of
to,
bad
Antifa.
ideas,
Yes.
yes, referring to Antifa. Speaking of bad ideas, we have a special exclusive for you today. We have the complete STEM 10-step plan for ending poverty
Oh, finally.
by Bernie Sanders. Here are the
This
steps.
should be good.
Number 1, abort all the poor babies.
I mean,
Yes.
okay.
Number 2,
I mean, yeah.
tax rich people until they're poor. And then abort their babies.
So that would put them
Number
back on
3,
one.
give everyone money until they become middle class.
Okay.
Number 4, drop Elon Musk off the Empire State Building. Number 5, at this point we're probably out of money, so print more money.
Fair.
Number 6, offload our healthcare to Cuba. Number 7. Force greedy business owners to lower all their prices. Number 8. Do whatever it is that Venezuela did. Except for fracking. Number 9. Blow up all the banks, like at the end of Fight Club. And last but very not least, number 10, let them eat cake.
Let them eat cake.
Especially if it's a delicious chocolate cake
What could possibly go wrong?
with a
Well, it's a
glorious
good thing
Hugo
none of those
Chavez
things have
picture
been
drawn in
tried
whipped cream.
before.
Speaking of unconscionable monsters, Pelosi becomes a Republican after priest exorcises all the demons from her home.
Is that what that explosion was?
Many of you have probably heard that the movie star Alec Baldwin was recently charged in the shooting on the set of Rust.
Yes, very tragic.
In response to the shooting charges, Alec Baldwin has come out and pled Democrat.
Oh, so he's getting off scotch-free. Got it.
Yes, pretty much. Last but not least, your favorite topic of discussion, Monsieur Biden. A batch of classified documents found on Walmart clearance shelf. That's all. This has been your Vitamin B. Wow, we flipped a California seat and didn't even have to try. Has anybody asked the priests how they're doing after
The ramifications of such an endeavor.
The demons had to go somewhere.
Exercise the demons.
Fortunately, there's too many swine in D.C. to know exactly where they went.
Well, it was at her home in California, so
Oh, same problem.
which could explain.
The bacon shortage?
No, it could explain why in California, San Francisco more specifically, which is, I believe, Nancy Pelosi's district.
Of course.
It is, yeah, San Francisco.
If you're short on money and you know how to forge documents to make it look like you've lived in an area since you were born, you might want to consider San Francisco as your target of choice because the city is looking at paying $5 million in reparations to black people each.
Wow.
5 million per person.
Per person.
I need to learn calligraphy and become black.
Yeah. Where are we on the transracial movement again? Is that socially acceptable yet?
You know how you just kind of slam a car in reverse when you're in drive and hope for the best? Somewhere around there.
Well, still not smart to do.
Yeah.
But even for $5 million. Well, my advice to anyone that tries that is don't try to dress up.
Well,
You know?
if
Might not
anything,
go well.
if anything, they'll charge you for it, throw you in jail, and then you can turn around and blame them for some sort of race thing.
Of course.
You identify as black, and so they're obviously racist for doing what they did to you.
You know, I may not be black, but I'm not gay either. But $20 is 20 bucks.
$5 million is $5 million.
I joke. I keep.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway.
So this article is just full of flowery story mostly, but it does point out that the city can reject the AARAC committee's suggestion
Yeah.
proposal. Yeah. It would only cost
so-
billions of dollars for the city of San Francisco, which would mean they'd have to
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Yeah, you're looking
that doesn't sound sustainable.
Oh, what does
Since when
sustainability
has
have to
California? Since when has California done anything that's sustainable?
I know.
Yeah.
You're confusing them with somebody fiscally responsible.
So the city of San Francisco.
Hold on.
Yes.
Remember, like, California has done things like really stupid ideas that even they rejected because they were not sustainable. Like, didn't they try universal health care one time back a while back?
Yeah, and shockingly, people are taking advantage of it. Weird.
Yeah.
Anyway, so the point is, like, sometimes they reject ideas that are too progressive even for California.
How bad with money do you actually have to be one of the largest economies in the world as a state by itself and still be insolvent?
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
So to put into perspective what they're looking at paying overall, the State Reparations Task Force, which will issue its own proposal in June, believes that black Californians may be due $569 billion for housing discrimination alone between 1933 and 1977.
Does that take inflation into account?
I don't know.
I would imagine so.
Yeah. So because of that, because of housing conditions or whatever, housing discrimination, they know it's housing discrimination because black people live in poor, rundown communities in California. Never mind that California is passing who knows what kinds of stupid stuff. Oh, maybe like this. To make it so the only way you can actually live in California as a regular person is to buy a piece of crap house in a piece of crap neighborhood on a piece of crap street. Because your job pays you crap for the state of California. Yeah. While you're living next to people just crapping in the streets. I call me a tinfoil hat person, if you will, but I feel like this isn't going to fix their problem.
I feel like this is just going to exacerbate it.
It's only make it worse. What? Yeah.
Not to be
Whatever
confused
makes
with
them
other
feel
words
good.
that are similar to exacerbate.
And of course they have to.
We should take all of the California politicians and just make them fan fiction writers instead, and everything will be better.
Everything would be better. Of course, they have to pull on the words of Martin Luther King. He described in his I Have a Dream speech, America was founded by white men who wrote a fraudulent check that promised that all men would enjoy their unalienable rights of life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. King was demanding the riches of freedom and justice for black America. Almost 60 years later, AARAC is doing the same in San Francisco.
I'm pretty sure because of the fact that their quotation marks are only around about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 7 of those words, that's not what Mr. King actually said.
You mean there's context behind it?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Oh, sorry. 11 of those words if you take into account 2 paragraphs.
Yeah.
My mistake.
I'm sure they're right.
I'm sure they are.
Yeah. What's that comma at the end of this? Nothing? Don't look at that. Don't look at the comma.
Never look at the commas.
Never.
Didn't you learn anything from the
Never
Second
look
Amendment?
past the comma.
Never look at the comma.
Never look past the 3 dots after whatever was quoted or the 3 dots before what was quoted. Never, ever. Arkansas.
Woohoo!
So some of these states are coming in off the top rope. And other states are just kind of, doing what California does. Arkansas, coming off the top rope with a bill classifying drag shows as adult-oriented business.
It's because they are.
It's because they absolutely are.
That sounds common sense. I don't
Sounds like
understand
common
how that would be
sense.
controversial.
Yeah, it's anti-LGBT somehow because they're trying to say, hey, your adult shows minors can't go to. It's illegal to do so. La, 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 la. So you admit that this actually is about sexualizing kids. No, that's not what we're saying at all. Oh, okay.
Yeah. Utah also put through some trans stuff recently.
Yes.
Did you see my my Twitter comment this morning?
I did not.
Yeah, I did. That's
You did?
gotten some attention. Yeah.
Has it gotten attention? I haven't even checked. So somebody
A little bit, yeah.
somebody commented on our glorious leader, Governor Spencer Cox. Cox, yes, Coxie. They commented on his Twitter that I can't even remember what the other thing they were arguing about was, but they commented that if he was going to veto that, then he should veto the trans bills that are aimed at what was it they said, the like most vulnerable among us or something like that. And I commented, you misspelled aimed at ending medical child abuse.
Fixed it.
Yeah, someone retweeted it.
Oh, did they?
So that's exciting.
Yes! Yes!
I got a retweet. Woohoo! It's how
the
much
little
attention
things.
I pay to social media.
It's the little things.
I jump on once in a while and see something that I have to just, start a flame war over.
You're wrong.
And then I ignore all of the comments and things that go with it.
You're wrong, and here's why. I'm logging off.
Until next time, friends.
I must go.
I must go. My people need me.
Your people need you.
That's great.
Yeah.
I'm glad to know that it caught some attention. That makes me happy inside.
Yeah. That's awesome. So the bill will amend state legal code for an adult-oriented business to add drag performance to the list, already including an adult arcade, an adult bookstore or video store, or adult cabaret, an adult live entertainment establishment, an adult motion picture theater, an adult theater, a massage establishment that offers adult services, an escort agency, or a nude model studio. Those aren't even close to the same thing, except for they are.
Why do they got to be going after the Korean massage parlors like that?
I just...
I'd rather not think about the details of the implications.
Well, wasn't there a story last year about some dude that went in and shot up a massage parlor because he was like, they were doing illicit things and whatever?
Yeah.
And nobody believed him, and then they investigated it, and it actually was a thing.
And we called it from the beginning. I said at the time, any massage parlor like that that's on a strip mall is absolutely a front for something else. And I was right.
What kind of bait are you using?
Oh my goodness.
The guy was right. I was right. I knew it. He knew it, and the crowd knew it.
It was he called it a den of sin or something like that. It was
Yes.
really funny.
Yes. They were offering illicit services behind the curtain. Turns out.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. Was that in Arkansas?
I don't remember. Moving a little south of Arkansas and east.
Just a little
to the
southeast.
state that keeps on winning.
I love it.
DeSantis
Florida.
announced that legislation is being written up to prohibit China and other enemies of the United States from purchasing land in the United States.
Now, if only we could get the federal government to,
I guess not the United
have
States,
half
but
the consideration.
in Florida, because it's Florida doing this. So
Right.
Can he ban Bill Gates from buying property in Florida while he's at it?
that would be fantastic. He's basically owned by China, I'm sure.
So that's what I was about to
I
say.
wouldn't doubt it.
You
It's-
mean the Chinese agent?
Yeah.
As we sit here on our Windows computers.
DeSantis said, from a national security perspective, is that something that we want to see? And a lot of times there will be companies that will put themselves out as private, but if you peel back the onion a little bit, they're basically controlled by the CCP, which is correct, because if you are a business doing business in China, you cannot do business in China unless you allow a member of the CCP to be on the board of your business. So
that's how these companies are indirectly owned by China.
Yep.
They have somebody on the board.
they have to comply with what the Chinese Communist Party tells them,
Or else what?
or else you don't get to do business in China.
Oh, yeah, that would put a lot of people in their pocket.
Yep.
Yeah, the CCP or the Chinese Communist Party, that they would own a lot of companies. I know Disney has done tons of I forget the word.
Shady dealings.
Yeah,
Backroom
China.
deals.
I'm sure there's lots more.
Yes.
China is
The
a
list
huge
goes
market,
on.
and they make all of our products apparently.
Yeah. Yeah. And this is becoming a bigger issue because a lot of the land that's being purchased by these companies and or countries in question, Iran, Russia, Afghanistan, things like that, it's fairly close to military bases, if not right next door to a military base or critical infrastructure. So, probably
Hey,
good.
so real quick question about the Great Reset and the New World Order and stuff.
Uh-huh.
Where does the Chinese Communist Party fit into them? Are they like the head of it? Are they just part of it? Or are they like a separate entity?
I was actually just about to bring up something probably connected to that. So I don't actually know where they sit in the WEF and all that stuff.
Didn't we find out that the Build Back Better, that Biden thing, originated
In China?
In China,
Yeah, we did.
And then
But
everyone.
it seems to me,
There's a lot of layers to this onion, though. So interesting
I know
facts.
we won't.
Interesting facts here. So the WEF, the New World Order, everything, it's pushing a lot of ESG stuff, right? A lot of that having to do with environmental things, right? So China, you wouldn't expect to be a big environmentalist, considering that they exceed all other developed nations combined in their emissions.
Yeah.
Just because
Correct.
they're building a coal
Yeah.
plant every week doesn't mean that their emissions are high.
So while China by itself is responsible for 27% of the world's emissions,
Uh-huh.
China by itself is responsible for over a quarter of the world's emissions.
Carbon emissions.
They are also the number one producer of everything you need to go green.
Right.
So windmill components, lithium batteries. I believe they have something like 70 to 80% of the market, depending on which thing you're looking at.
It's a good thing we have an air base in Afghanistan to keep them from getting one of the largest cobalt deposits. Oh, wait. They have
Not anymore. We don't.
They have the rights to that cobalt deposit in Afghanistan now.
Yeah. So, as to your question about their role in the New World Order, if you believe that the New World Order is simply just trying to put everybody under their thumb, that they don't really believe in any of the stuff that they're talking about, that it's a means to gain money and power and influence, I would say that China is probably deeply involved in it in one way or another.
Well, China
simply
does
because
the S and the G.
Yes, simply because China is one of the largest benefactors from everything that they're pushing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like literally, if you peel back the onion on it, pretty much everything that the WEF and the New World Order is pushing benefits China in one way, shape, or form.
It's a good thing they're not a very good or large manufacturer of computer chips, because otherwise that would really ruin. Taiwan's right next door to them.
Very big.
Yes, and And of course, when you consider the fact that Russia invading Ukraine and everything was more or less an orchestrated thing as a test run for what would happen if China were to go after Taiwan, to see how other countries would actually respond to something like that. Yeah, it makes a little more sense then, doesn't it?
A little bit.
And then Putin painted himself in a corner that he can't get out of. And so now Ukraine is calling for World War III. Yippee for us.
And I remember it was sometime around the Afghanistan withdrawal, I think. Or no, it was... I don't remember what it was. But I pointed out that with what China was projecting of what they wanted to do with different things, they wanted to rebuild the Silk Road.
Yeah.
Which now they basically have because Afghanistan has fallen.
Yep.
And Russia, and I pointed out that Putin wants to rebuild the USSR.
Yeah.
Which he's failing at.
Badly.
But Ukraine would have been the first step to doing that.
Yeah.
Huh. Wyoming. So a lot of states are following California in the electric car movement of all new vehicles after 2030 or 2035, whenever it is, have to be electric cars. Wyoming is moving in the direction of, let's see, they just introduced state legislation with the hopes of phasing out the sale of electric vehicles in that state by 2035. You want to ban gas cars? Fine, we'll ban your electric ones.
Oh, we just lost Keith.
We lost Keith. We'll get him back. But the legislation sponsors Senator. Oh, okay.
It's going to ring through on us.
Cool.
Apparently.
Oh,
I
lost you.
Did you fall out of your chair or something, buddy?
His Bluetooth died. So the legislation sponsor, Senator Jim Anderson, told Cowboy State Daily the reason he introduced the resolution was, quote, to push back against bans on new sales of cars with internal combustion engines in states like California and New York, and specifically an FU to the rest of the states.
So Wyoming is trying to ban electric cars just to do the opposite of what California is doing.
Yeah.
Seems like a solid plan.
I mean, that's not a terrible plan for life, frankly. I think it's life advice that we could all use. Do whatever the opposite California is doing. Right. I like it.
Right.
Because it's all part of the plan.
Part of the legislation says, whereas the United States has consistently invested in the oil and gas industry to sustain gas-powered vehicles, and that investment has resulted in the continued employment of thousands of people in the oil and gas industry in Wyoming and throughout the country. Doing away with that would be detrimental to Wyoming, is basically the reason behind it.
I mean, that they're not wrong.
It's sound logic. Hey, yeah, it's basically saying, hey, if we follow California, we're going to have to explain to why a good chunk of our residents no longer have jobs.
This article says something that's just absolutely idiotic, though. Says, this resolution may be more tongue-in-cheek than a serious piece of legislation, but it brings light to a serious issue for Wyoming. Electric vehicles are coming. It really doesn't matter whether or not states ban internal combustion vehicles, because in 10 to 15 years' time, very few people will want to buy one.
False.
And that includes most Wyoming residents.
False.
That is utter horseshit. Because I have used electric vehicles, and they are nowhere near ready to replace combustion vehicles.
No.
Nowhere near.
Yeah.
I want a Tesla, not because I want it to completely replace the combustion engine. I want a Tesla because I think it's stupid fun to go stupid fast really quick.
Yes, exactly.
And
and
it
they do that.
And it looks like a decent car.
They do that, and they are decent that way. But going on a road trip with an electric vehicle is the biggest pain in the ass.
Or like one of these stories on the side of the webpage, YouTuber's Hummer electric vehicle breaks down while off-roading in Moab.
Yeah.
Guess what?
Yep.
You got to get a tow truck somehow to tow you out of the middle of nowhere in Moab, Utah.
Yeah.
You can't just put more gas. Ain't got no gas in it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Instead of trying to fight the inevitable, Wyoming lawmakers need to begin to plan for an economic future that relies more heavily on other industries.
No, you had it right before. Moron. Yes.
They know they have. They know they have to, and perhaps this stunt was really designed to get the attention of those in the federal government that can help. That can help with that. Yeah, it's designed to get the attention of if other states hop on board with Wyoming. Car manufacturers are going to have to decide, okay, do we want to cater to California that's going to keep passing who knows what rules for electric vehicles? Or are we going to go to states and start manufacturing in states like Wyoming, Utah, Texas, Florida, where they're like, you can make electric cars or you can make gas cars, just make us reliable cars.
Yes.
That's all we want.
Yes. No, Teslas are cool though. My niece owned one for a little while, and it was fun. But she also got stuck in that power outage in Beaver for.
Is that why she owned one?
Yes. It was shortly after that they sold their Tesla. Yes.
They sold their Tesla over that.
I'm so glad.
Well, when you get
they're
stuck
great.
overnight in a town in the middle of nowhere because you can't charge your vehicle because the power grid went out because it was overloaded by all the electric vehicles, it kind of puts into light how utterly useless electric vehicles are.
Oops. Well, we just have to improve our grid with more solar panels and wind turbines that are collapsing for no reason right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That.
And is that what California is doing?
Probably.
Don't they have the worst power grid ever?
California probably not even doing that. I mean, last year they were in the process of shutting down their last nuclear plant while replacing it with nothing. So.
Oh, don't get me started on nuclear. Did you know we haven't built a new nuclear plant in the United States for like 30, 40 years or something like that?
Yep. We had an entire episode about that, actually.
Yep.
Oh, really?
Yes.
I'll have to listen to it. It was back before I joined the show.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Another Chad move by a state. Oregon. Oregon's not right. Oregon State Senator files bill to let more than half of the state secede and join Idaho.
Wow, that is more than half the state.
Do it.
Yes.
The bill, which is being called the Greater Idaho Bill, we covered this bit last year. The voting patterns but it's actually going into action right now. So there's, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 counties have already voted to join Idaho. One county is voting next to join Idaho. And there's a handful that have yet to vote on joining Idaho.
Are all of the counties going to vote at some point on joining Idaho?
Supposedly, they're at least in the umbrella that can vote.
Is that what that yellow line is?
Yes.
Is that so? Within that yellow line, those are the counties that would vote to join Idaho.
Yes. It looks like. I wonder if they drew those lines based off of congressional districts, because they're kind of off from county lines.
Yeah, they're a little bit off. But no, I traveled to Oregon over the summer, and I remember on the border, like anyway, the movement is real. Is all I'm going to say.
Right.
They're like some of the people that are in Oregon, but kind of close to the border. Like they had the Idaho News on. You know, it's like they wanted to be part of Idaho now.
It's like when I was in Alabama for a while, they tell you that Florida stole their coastline. And the people on the panhandle of Florida would tell you that they're just lower Alabama.
Yeah.
So they both agreed that they belong to Alabama.
You know, if this happens, you know, that would make the shape of Idaho look more like a fist with something coming out of it.
Yes. The one finger salute. Yes. If this plan goes into full motion, it would take part of Northern California as well, and Idaho would become a coastal state if that comes to fruition.
It would be a coastal state, really?
Yes. For the
I'd
full,
have to see the full map.
yeah, for the full plan that they have. So yeah,
Anyway.
that'll be fun. That's a fun thing. Let's see. There's multiple states that are pushing back against credit card companies. Sometime in the late third quarter, fourth quarter, beginning of fourth quarter last year, credit card companies announced that they're changing purchase codes for firearms, so that when a firearm is purchased, the business has to label it as such. And so there's definitely not a record of who has bought firearms.
Wait, why would the credit card companies try to do something like that?
It has nothing to do with ESG.
Are they?
Has nothing to do with ESG. Just telling you right now.
Oh,
Nothing at all.
what?
Nothing at all to do with that.
You know, these climate, the climate credit score, aka ESG, that doesn't make any sense to me. I mean, obviously, I know it's just a matter of control, but like, how do you get from firearms are bad for the environment? Yep, it's the environment. I mean, you can't go buying those firearms because the environment.
They wouldn't be under the environment; they'd be under the social governance.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. That's how they would be scored.
There's no way this is constitutional.
It's not
It's
at
not, which is why West Virginia has introduced legislation that would ban credit card companies from collecting or disclosing data on their customers' firearm purchases.
all. And that's the way that they were trying to do it is they were trying to circumvent the Constitution by having a private corporation do all of the underhandedness for them.
Yeah.
Do we have proof of that there was collusion between the government and these credit card companies?
So
Or
here's
is that just an assumption that we're making based off of?
here's kind of how it works. So the federal government, especially with this administration, they'll put out something like, I don't know, let's ban arm braces for firearms. Just, out of the blue scenario here. Let's ban firearm braces. So you can't have a brace for your pistol. Bunch of legal feedback will come back. You can't do that. You can't do that. You can't do that. So Congress won't do it. So an administrative thing will issue a rule, a guideline saying, if you do this, then it's probably going to be classified as this, which means you'll be committing a felony by doing that. And in the process that it takes for the courts to actually come through and do that, the private sector has already started doing it because, they don't want to have to deal with all those headaches. The court comes out and says, you can't actually do that. But the private sector is still able to just do what they want, which is why you still have companies that are mandating. So,
yeah. So in this article, it actually kind of highlights some of the issues here. So let's
September.
see here.
That's when it was.
Yep. So towards the end of the article, after talking about the new House bill and some of that stuff, it says in September, Visa, MasterCard, and American Express announced that they will be assigning specific category codes to all sales from gun shops or gun-related purchases from sporting goods stores. This aligned the card companies with a global gun control initiative, spearheaded by activist progressive banks such as Amalgamated Bank, and implemented by the International Organization for Standardization, based in Switzerland. U.S. law...
Based in Switzerland.
Yes. U.S. law
There it is.
explicitly prohibits the federal government from creating a registry of gun owners, but financial institutions have been willing to do so on the government's behalf. PayPal, for example, does not allow its services to be used for gun or ammunition purchases, and America's largest banks have set criteria such as age limits on gun buyers and magazine capacity limits that are significantly stricter than state or federal laws and effectively block them from doing business with most firearms makers and retailers.
So it's not illegal for you to own or purchase a firearm. It's just impossible for you to own or purchase a firearm because...
Unless you pay cash.
Because the bank you're working with won't allow you to do that. And yes, like Mike said, unless you pay cash, then you can get around all that, which means it's a good thing that they're not working on digitizing our dollar. Oh, wait. They are.
So they're circumventing, like the government is indirectly violating our Second Amendment rights by going through these credit card companies. And because the credit card companies are quote unquote private companies, they can violate our Second Amendment rights because they're not officially affiliated with the government. Is that right?
Yes.
Yes.
Another word for
They're
that, a shorter way to describe that is fascism.
Yeah, and so the private companies officially are just refusing to do business on a cause that they don't believe in. And at the same time, private citizens are being sued for not baking a cake.
Correct.
Isn't that fun?
Yes.
To know how that works.
Yes. So West Virginia is fighting back, and other states have started drafting similar legislation.
Oh, this is interesting. About half an hour ago, Jordan Peterson tweeted, "Listen and weep. There is nothing you can do that at WEF would not track and control, all for the good of the planet."
Yeah. Speaking of firearm things, Illinois thought it would be a good idea to enforce an assault weapons ban, to pass a law banning assault weapons, however they want to classify that.
And how did that go?
Well, 80 sheriffs, so 80 counties, have announced we are not enforcing that law.
Oh, nice. How many counties are there in Illinois?
Not that much many more. The assault weapons ban targets commonly owned semi-automatic rifles and requires those who already own such rifles to register them with the Illinois State Police.
There are 102 counties in Illinois.
So only 80% of the counties. 79 something percent of the counties. Pritzker's office released a statement upon his signing of the bill. It highlighted the registration requirement. The new law also requires existing owners of semi-automatic rifles to register their ownership, ensuring that law enforcement knows the location of these weapons of war and who to hold accountable if they fall into the wrong hands.
Weapons of war. Holy shit.
Again, this is Illinois, the home of Chicago, where more people die on a weekend than die in a mass shooting in California during the Chinese New Year.
Are you talking about Chicago, the number one prime example of gun bans don't work?
No, not that Chicago.
Oh, okay.
The Chicago that's the number one example of complete restriction of your Second Amendment rights.
Just Chicago. Making sure that we were talking about the same Chicago.
Edwards County Sheriff Darby Bowie was quick to clarify that he will not be enforcing the ban. Part of my duties that I accepted upon being sworn into office was to protect the rights provided to all of us in the Constitution. One of those rights enumerated is the right of the people to keep and bear arms provided under the Second Amendment. The right to keep and bear arms for defense of life, liberty, and property is regarded as an inalienable right by the people. He referred to the semi-automatic rifle ban as a clear violation of the Second Amendment to the U.S. Constitution. Yep.
By that definition, the ban of automatic weapons is also... Yes.
Yes.
Yes, it is.
Correct.
I should be able to own a tank if I want.
Uh-huh.
And buy ammunition for it.
If I can afford to park an aircraft carrier on the side of my house, then damn it, I should be able to own an aircraft carrier on the side of my house.
Yes, I should. My goal is to someday be rich enough to own an aircraft carrier.
Just go into
that would be nice.
Just hitch that up to your truck and drive it to the lake every once in a while. Take her for a spin.
Literally, that's all you have room to do in the lake is just spin it. Spin it around.
An aircraft carrier in the lake. Oh my gosh.
Bring me that headwind.
It's a whole new vision of Jack Sparrow standing on the edge of an aircraft carrier with his arms splayed out.
Pirate music starts playing.
Dun, 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 dun.
I was thinking of Secondhand Lions.
Oh, yes.
That's where I was thinking with my visualization.
See,
there was a traveling salesman.
I crossed the image of him floating in on the boat in the first movie with the Titanic rail scene. I thought it was great myself.
I'm flying, Jack.
I'm flying, Jack. It's even better because they're both named Jack.
Oh, hey.
And it's an aircraft carrier.
Now just replace her voice with Barbosa's.
Yes.
Don't let go, Jack. Never let go.
Not bad. Not bad.
You best start believing in worthless purchases, Jack. You're on one.
Oh, that's awesome.
So, I found a good doctor.
Oh, did you?
Yes. You might have to fight to get him out of court in order to use his services. Which, the way things are going with the information that keeps coming out on the daily with the vaccines from...
Might be worth it.
Might be worth fighting for this guy.
So, jailbreak it is then.
Utah surgeon and others are accused of destroying vaccines and giving fake shots to children.
I know a couple of guys in Tennessee that have experience blowing open the side of...
They may or may not have experience using C4. A Utah plastic surgeon, his neighbor, and 2 others are facing charges in connection with allegations that they gave people fake vaccination cards and destroyed government-provided COVID-19 vaccinations.
Who are you who are so wise in the ways of science? I am Arthur.
I'm not ignoring your authority. I'm completely denying its existence.
Yes.
They are also accused of giving children fake COVID-19 shots. Heroes, in my opinion.
Yes.
According to court documents, Dr. Michael Kirk Moore Jr., 58, and 3 others allegedly ran a scheme. Scheme is the wrong word, but whatever. Out of Plastic Surgery Institute of Utah to defraud the United States and the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention.
Notice that they weren't defrauding their customers.
No, they're defrauding the federal government because, well, we paid for these and we gave them to you. Oh, I destroyed them. The documents, and not the state of Utah either. It's the United States and the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. The documents say Moore and his neighbor, Kristen Jackson Anderson, were members of a private organization seeking to, quote, liberate the medical profession from government and industry conflicts of interest, end quote. Yes! Yes! The pair, along with office manager Carrie D. Bergling and receptionist Sandra Flores are accused of destroying at least $28,000 worth of COVID-19. Those are rookie numbers. Vaccinations and distributing at least 1,900 doses worth of fake completed vaccination record cards. Heroes. The court documents allege the fake vaccination cards were sold either for direct cash payments of $50 per person per occurrence or required donations to a specified charitable organization. Okay.
Do it.
And the documents estimate the fake vaccination cards have a total value of nearly $97,000. Moore and his co-defendants are also accused of giving children saline shots at the request of their parents so that the children would think they were receiving a COVID-19 vaccine.
So the children didn't have to lie to the school.
So the children didn't have to lie to the school, and the parents knew that there's something not right with this. So let's see if we can find someone that will help us not have to deal with this. Which, again, is why he is not being sued by the patients. He's being sued by, or the state. He's being sued by
The federal
government.
and the CDC.
And the CDC, which is also the federal government. Huh.
I don't have enough good buttons on here. I need a some heroes don't wear capes button.
Yes.
So my question, did all the parents know that these were saline shots? Or was he just randomly giving it?
It was at their
to people?
request, yes.
Yeah, apparently.
At their request? Oh, wow. That's amazing.
So by allegedly, so this is from Kurt L. Mueller, Agent Mueller, special agent in charge with the Department of Health and Human Services, Office of the Inspector General. By allegedly falsifying vaccine cards and administering saline shots to children instead of COVID-19 vaccines, not only did this provider endanger the health and well-being of a vulnerable population, but also undermine public trust and the integrity of federal health care programs.
In order to undermine those things would actually have to exist.
Yeah, you can't.
Yeah. Didn't
There's
we
no such
find
thing
out
as
that the
integrity.
vaccine is neither safe nor effective? And so this guy was right all along? And he's in charge now?
Only by Pfizer's own admission and the CDC's own data. Yes.
There's neither
it sounds like this
integrity
guy
nor
was
trust.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're saying now that he was undermining the trust or whatever of the medical community. That's hilarious.
And the saline shots.
They might want to look in the mirror and understand what a sense of scale is.
Well, when you don't have a reflection in the mirror, it's hard to tell.
It's hard to tell. Yes.
Yeah. Giving saline shots to children is dangerous to a vulnerable population. I'm sorry. Children were the least vulnerable to COVID. No matter which way you hack and slice that data, children are the least vulnerable.
Yeah.
Yeah. And in Europe, didn't they start saying that young men should just not get the vaccine?
Yeah, they halted it to everyone under 19. Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, according to Europe, he did the right thing. According to the vaccine manufacturers themselves, the vaccine was neither safe nor effective nor prevented transmission, like at all.
And over the weekend, CDC announced that they had absolutely no conclusive data to show that it's safe for kids 5 through 11 to use.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
You want to know what else wonderful? What other wonderful announcement came out this last week along those lines?
I'd love to hear it.
They are now talking about switching the flu vaccine to an mRNA variant.
What could possibly go wrong?
The flu vaccine is an mRNA vaccine now. Please tell me they haven't done this.
I don't think they've done it yet, but they are talking about doing it soon.
Remember when?
If I remember, I'll see if I can find the article.
Remember when people like you and I?
No, I emailed it to the show about the.
Yeah,
I did.
Remember, Mike, when you and I were called conspiracy theorists and hacks and didn't know what we were talking about when we mentioned, hey, this mRNA thing, they're probably going to use it for other vaccines too, and maybe even use it to combine multiple vaccines together.
I do remember all the stupid things we were called when we were right. Yes.
Yeah. That they're not going to do that. That's not going to. Hey, what if we make the flu vaccine like this? I hate them all.
So not safe or effective. Brilliant.
Yeah. Trials and executions.
No, I heard somewhere, I couldn't find an article that talked about it, that they're also trying to make a tuberculosis vaccine through mRNA technology, quote unquote technology.
Technology, quote unquote.
I think we should practice forgiveness in this instance.
Do you hear that? That's the sound of forgiveness.
That's the sound of people drowning, Carl.
That is what forgiveness sounds like. Screaming and then silence.
Sweet silence.
Sweet silence. It's the sound of forgiveness.
So, also in Utah, we kind of brushed across this. They are also passing transgender-related things. Among which is a child can't just change their name just because. They need a parent's permission to do so. I don't know why that one's controversial.
Oh, I found the article, Keith. Or I found an article.
Yeah.
Anyway, MIT Technology Review. What's next for mRNA vaccines? And their list of things that are currently under exploration for mRNA vaccines is tuberculosis, malaria, HIV, shingles, and flu.
Yeah, no.
Being headed by BioNTech and partnered with Pfizer.
Yeah, no. Let me think about that for a sec. No. All the no. So in Utah, the Senate passed 3 hotly debated transgender measures. Senate Bill 16 would ban gender reassignment surgery for minors and hormonal treatments for any transgender teens who haven't already started them. I guess that one still needs one more vote, but that's what they're doing.
Which Senate? Did you say this was a state Senate or the United States?
Utah.
Utah. Okay.
Utah State Senate. Now, Kennedy, the bill sponsor, he said he's concerned about long-term effects of surgeries and hormonal treatments on teens. What does he know? But opponents of the said the bill meddles in private family decisions and could invite lawsuits against the state. To all of those people, go ahead and buy your child a thing of vodka and give it to them. Well, alcohol will ruin their minds until they're older. Their mind needs time to mature. Okay, now do transgender stuff. Next, the next one they did prohibits teens from amending their birth certificates until they're 18 years old. Yes.
Oh, until they're 18. Brilliant.
Yeah, when they're legal adults, you can legally change your name.
How is this not already on the books?
I don't know, because people were sane to a degree before now. The final bill would require schools to inform parents if there is a school-wide policy of calling children by different names or pronouns. That's a start. It should be that schools are required to let parents know at any time if their child is trying to call themselves by a different name.
Or pronoun. Or use a bathroom that isn't their biological assign.
Or do anything that is outside of normal child behavior. Pre-2018.
I think we need to roll that back a bit further.
I had to start somewhere.
Let's go pre-2000.
That's fair.
I think. Let's see. When was Columbine?
Columbine?
Yes.
That was 2000, wasn't it?
I think it was sometime around there. 99. It was April 20th, 99.
Yeah.
So pre-99, if your child is doing anything unusual for a child pre-99, I think that would solve a lot of problems.
Uh-huh. Yeah, one of the guys had some sort of episode when he was opposing the name change one. He said, what is the compelling state interest in telling people that they can't change their birth certificates? What is the problem we're trying to solve? I don't know. Maybe letting people grow up a little bit before they change the name their parents gave them. Maybe. I don't know. Since apparently people can't be free to just be themselves.
There is an argument to be made against this. It's not that argument, but there is an argument.
Right.
For instance, when you turn 16 years old, you can technically go in, and if you're in a bad family situation, you can apply for guardianship of yourself. At which point, I would say you should be able to legally change your name.
Right.
I know several people that have had very, very bad family histories, very bad family experiences, and things like that went and changed. They didn't change their first names. Most of them changed their last names, specifically to not be associated with things that happened with their family. There are cases like that where it would be fine.
Yes.
But this is specifically referring to people that are trying to change their name before reaching an age where you're legally considered an adult. Change their name to something that is a different gender and things like that.
Yeah, it's not mom and dad are fighting and there's some divorce thing or anything like that. It's
But I don't know that the bill was worded to include that kind of thing.
right.
Is what that's the only argument I would have against this bill is if it doesn't have the ability to recognize those specific cases where it would be detrimental to the child to keep their family's last name or something like that.
Yeah.
Those special cases should be considered.
Yeah, absolutely, man. It would be hard to make up a bill that would catch all the necessary exceptions.
Right, and
there's an exception for everything.
That's the same reason why it's hard to have an abortion bill, because, I mean, how many different kinds of medical exceptions can there be? There's so many different things that could cause issues at some point down the line, and different things that and so these types of broad bills are. Yeah, they help more than they hurt, I would think. But with this bill specifically, I don't know that it would, specifically because both the demographic that it's supposed to be helping and the demographic that it would hurt are equally small demographics.
Right.
It's a small percentage of people that are or believe themselves to be trans. It's a very, very small percentage of people that have a family life that's so bad that they need to change their last name before they're 18. Those are small percentages. And that's the only reason I bring it up with this one is that it is, both demographics are so tiny that it would be a coin toss on whether this kind of thing would help more than it would hurt with this kind of thing.
It looks like, I'm not very good at doing quick legalese on the fly, but it looks like it does offer some sort of thing where you can still do what you were talking about with the name change for stuff.
Perfect. Then I'm all on board. It's great.
The correction is supported by documentary evidence that is deemed sufficient by the department and was created no later than 30 days after the day of the event that led to the creation of the vital record.
Perfect. That's good enough to me.
So I think I think it probably does. But again, that's on the fly legally. He's trying to read that.
Yeah.
Right. Well, that sounds like good news to me.
Right. Oh, perfect. I support it then.
Yeah. Concession made. I'm good. I'm good to go. Good to go.
Back to Wyoming. Because I did this in no particular order. The order was when I discovered them. A proposed bill would eliminate gun-free zones in Wyoming.
Oh, good. It's about time.
Here, here.
It would make everyone safer.
Yeah. Yeah. Both open and concealed carry of firearms without a permit is allowed in Wyoming, and particularly during hunting season, it's not unusual to see people bearing arms in the cowboy state. Yes, in a state that's outnumbered by deer, you're going to see it. However, it's still largely left up to the property owners, businesses, and institutions whether firearms are allowed on the premises. Many businesses won't allow customers or employees to bring their guns. Guns are likewise effectively banned on the University of Wyoming campus, as well as in or around most public schools and other public buildings.
Just going to throw this out there.
County
It's only
courthouses.
illegal if you get caught.
Yep. HB 105 aims to eliminate those restrictions in public or taxpayer-funded spaces. Private property and business owners could still restrict firearms on their premises as they see fit. Fine for them. Moreover, it would make it a misdemeanor offense to try preventing someone from concealed carrying it in any of those places, punishable by up to a year in prison and or a $2,000 fine.
I mean, I would gladly tuck my shirt in behind my gun so it was visible. If that was the case, it's a sign that says no concealed carry. All right, tucked, good to go. Away we are.
Just try it.
That's fantastic. Even throwing the fine in there. Hey, you're not allowed to have this gun on school property. You want to say that again, but to the camera?
Hold on one second. I got to pull out my recording device. Say that again, please.
That's a fantastic way to do it. Say, yeah, we're not doing gun-free zones, and if you try to enforce it, you're going to jail. Good. Over in Georgia, not the country, but the state.
Is there a difference?
One used to be in the Soviet Union.
Yeah, Georgia probably has
One still is?
the country. Fair. The country Georgia probably has better spring break resorts than the state Georgia does.
Oh, that's I don't know, man.
That's probably the line I can draw. Probably. It's not a confident line, but I'll draw it.
It's not a confident. Have you ever been to Savannah?
No.
Me either, but I hear it's lovely.
So I'm told. Project Veritas. I don't know how they do this. Because it's not something that they just do, stumble across a guy that just spills the beans like this. But
they have to work for months on these people.
They did all the legwork to find this guy that's working with Teaching Lab HQ. And this is an organization that creates and sells teaching material for the public schools in Georgia. Well, Georgia recently passed a law that makes it illegal to teach CRT material in public school. And Project Veritas found this guy that says that he's created and is selling material that teaches critical race theory. He admits to Project Veritas, if you don't say the word critical race theory, you can teach it. I'm an evil salesman. They, the state, have no clue. He, Governor Kemp, is such an idiot. And I don't necessarily disagree with him on that.
He's not wrong. He's just an asshole.
He says, and they don't even know what's going on. I would say that I'm a good salesman, but I'm also an evil salesman, like so bad. So the state is basically paying for your curriculum without knowing what's in it, the journalist asked. Bostic answered in the affirmative. He explained that Fulton and Cobb counties are currently using his curriculum, which is tailored to kindergarten students. What were the two counties that we had election issues with? Oh,
Yes.
Fulton and Cobb. Huh. When the state pays when the state pays for your stuff, they don't know that critical race theory is in it. The journalist commented. Right, of course, they don't know. They don't know. I mean, so basically, it just goes right into the account. So he's just bragging to him about breaking the law.
So it's like an omnibus bill, but for kindergartners.
Right. And
you accept it, but you don't know what's in it.
Yes. And Teaching Lab HQ's director has come out and said, yeah, he's suspended without pay until we get to the bottom of this. Oh, okay.
Is this going to be one of those fake investigations, or is he going to get fired?
I don't know.
Oh, they might fire him just to get rid of the scapegoat.
Yep. You got to have a fall guy. This guy unwittingly became the fall guy.
Oh, he did describe himself as an evil salesman. So.
Yes.
You're not wrong, Walter. You're just an asshole.
Now, Project Veritas would have gone to Governor Kemp for comment, but he couldn't be bothered because he was in Davos for the World Economic Forum. So there's that. He wasn't alone, though. The World Economic Forum, doesn't have any power.
Hey, Biden was at the World Economic Forum? It said that he skipped it.
Yeah, he skipped it. He had to go down to Mexico for a number of days and sign who knows what kind of shady deals with them. Yeah, he was there. John Kerry was there. Janet Yellen, the Treasury Secretary, she was there. Chris Coons from Delaware, he was there. Joe Manchin from West Virginia, he was there. Mickey Sherrill, New Jersey Democrat rep, was there with Manchin and Coons. J.B. Pritzker, the Democrat governor of Illinois.
Oh.
He was there. On the Republican side, Maria Elvira Salazar, congresswoman from Florida. She was there. Brian Kemp from Georgia, like I said, was there. And Kyrsten Sinema from Arizona, also there. But the World Economic Forum has no power. Nothing they talk about actually comes to fruition. Like when they talk about having digital currency at the World Economic Forum, and then the Treasury Secretary announces that the Treasury is currently working on having a digital currency.
I mean, where is Davos again?
Switzerland.
Oh, didn't we just have another story where we just talked about Switzerland?
Something about Amalgus Bank and credit cards and
right.
tracking your firearm purchases.
That's
I don't know.
something
not
along
important.
those lines. It's
Something
not
without
important.
power, yeah, or authority or anything, or money. No money.
Yeah. Interesting how that happens.
It's there's not some secret cabal. No, you're right. There is not some secret cabal.
It's
They're
not secret
meeting
anymore.
Out in the open, and you still
They're saying
deny
everything.
While we're in the federal realm of things, remember when they were going hard after Trump for his Russia collusion and all that stuff?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
Yeah. The Justice Department announced Monday charges against former FBI counterintelligence official Charles McGonigal for
Did you say McGonigal?
allegedly violating sanctions on Russia by providing services to Russian oligarch Oleg Deripaska.
No relation to the lady that can turn into a cat in the Harry Potter series. Completely different McGonagall.
Yeah, not the same spelling.
Not the same spelling at all.
Well, and what makes this interesting is this is the guy who was part of the investigation into Trump's Russian collusion. So this guy that was investigating Trump and trying to get charges against him for colluding with Russia because they investigated Oleg Depretska and any ties he might have to Trump. Turns out this FBI agent actually had ties to that guy and was doing everything he was blaming Trump for doing.
Rejection.
All right, sidebar. Do I just have a really dirty mind, or is Amanda Head the worst news anchor
Very
I've ever
not.
heard?
Yeah. That's bad.
That's unfortunate.
I would say that's a suboptimal name to have. Not even in news, just life in general.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sorry if she ever listens to this. I'm sorry I laughed at your name, but did you marry into that, or
I know.
was it intentional?
Yeah.
Anyway, moving on.
During his time working with the FBI, McGonigal reportedly investigated Russian oligarchs, including Depretska. The oligarch was already sanctioned in 2018 for allegedly helping Trump become president in 2016. He was charged in September with violating sanctions imposed after Russia invaded Ukraine. Prosecutors alleged that he was involved in a scheme to have his girlfriend give birth in the United States so the child could be a U.S. citizen. Depretska, a close ally of Russian President Vladimir Putin, who ran Russian ammunition company Rusal, was accused of coordinating the Trump campaign's collusion with Russia in 2016, with the overall accusations having later been discredited. During his business dealings in Russia, President Joe Biden's son, Hunter Biden, asked for intelligence and risk analysis report on Depretska, according to documents obtained by Just the News last year. And this FBI agent was part of the ring that gave them fake information because he worked with this Russian guy to give fake information.
And yet, half the Democrat Party still believes in the Russia collusion thing.
Still believes in Russia collusion, and they went through a whole impeachment ordeal because of it.
Yeah,
Turns out,
unbelievable.
not only was the information fake, but they went after the wrong guy for the fake information. It turns out the FBI agent feeding them the information was the one that was actually doing the information he fed them.
Is the media covering it, Trevor?
No. That's a hard no. Hard pass on that one.
Does the media ever cover anything that we actually need to know?
Well,
They covered the other thing that turned out to be fake. You think they'd cover something that's true once in a while?
well, they did cover that.
But then they would actually have to do their damn job.
That shooting in California, they were all over that for about 10 seconds.
And what did they realize?
Well, they had to change the narrative real quick because they realized it wasn't a hate crime. They realized it was actually just Asian on Asian violence.
It was like wasn't it a domestic abuse scandal or something like that?
Gone awry, yeah. And so it went from, look at this white supremacy taking over, it's an Asian guy doing the shooting. The guns are bad, aren't they just the worst? Let's just move on. It's essentially what happened with the mass shooting in California. Ooh. Matt Gates.
Yeah, moving on.
Matt Gates, speaking of firearms.
I am a fan of Matt Gaetz.
Matt Gates just gave us the perfect blueprint for any and all laws moving forward.
His interview on Timcast the other day was awesome, too.
He introduced...
He is a congressman from Florida, by the way.
Yes.
Yes, he was one of the 20.
Almost he convinces me to be a Floridian.
He introduced a bill. It is 1 page long because the new rules in Congress mandate that they have to be very short bills and they have to be to the point.
Yes.
The point of his bill, you have to read the entire page worth of introduction, sponsors, long name of the bill, short name of the bill, so on and so forth, till you get to the last line on the bill, line 8. The ATF is hereby abolished.
8. You have to read all of the things.
You have to read all of the different ways to name the bill just so you can see the Abolish the ATF Act is exactly what it says. The ATF is hereby abolished.
So remind me, what is the ATF?
The Bureau of Alcohol,
Exactly.
Tobacco, and Firearms. And explosives.
And I did not know there was an ATF. What do they do?
Well, they
what
should
do
be
they-
a convenience store. But they are, in fact, a branch of the government that is bent on infringing rights.
Yes, they are part of the executive branch under the Department of Justice. And they go around inspecting firearms dealers, making sure they're following all the rules, not selling illegal firearms, quote unquote illegal. And every once in a while, they show up at your door and knock on your door to see if you'll give them information on the firearms you have so they can then use it against you in some sort of court of law. That's what the ATF does. The ATF is the reason why if you want to buy a suppressor for your firearm, you have to wait at least 8 months, if not a year to year and a half, to get the suppressor.
Gotcha. So they're an enforcement wing of the executive branch, basically, that is related to alcohol, tobacco, and firearms.
And
Yes,
explosives.
they are a
Yes.
branch of the Gestapo, indeed.
Yes.
Go give them to Border Patrol or something. They can all have jobs there.
No, just abolish them.
I don't care if they get another job anywhere else.
That's on them.
Oh no. Anyway.
Yeah, this is the same agency that just after the Supreme Court told them you can't just make up rules and say that things are illegal, turned around and absolutely just turned around and made a thing illegal just because. Without grandfathering in. So just instantly made 40 some odd million Americans felons by putting in a rule that you can't have a brace on your pistol.
You can only be a felon if you broke an actual law.
Yeah, it is not a law. It's currently not in the federal code either, so technically it hasn't taken effect, if it will at all. But the fact that they're trying to do it anyway, without vote from Congress, vote from you. Do you even know who the head of the ATF is? No, you do not, because they are appointed and elected. So, yeah. That's, Oh, Gates was, his district was where I served my mission. Well, no wonder I like him so much. The panhandle of Florida is where his district is.
Wish I could say the place where I served my mission was a place where somebody like Gates was elected.
One day.
Fortunately, I believe the place where I served elected Warnock.
Oof. There's a new problem on the border. Illicit materials, illicit items are being smuggled across in increasing alarm now. Eggs are becoming a major problem on the southern border. How good is the American economy doing? Well, people are smuggling eggs across the southern border.
Eggs?
Yeah.
And that's illegal?
Yeah. Yeah.
Why?
Because you have to claim them through customs. If you're smuggling them, you are not claiming them in customs. And also, by claiming them in customs, you have to pay the tax of the value of the item, which in the United States, eggs are worth a ridiculously larger amount more than they are here in the U.S.
Don't we get tons of food imported from Mexico? Why can't we just get eggs too?
So the average price of a dozen large eggs was $1.93 in January of 2022. It has risen.
And now it's like $5, $5 to $6.
It has risen to $4.25 by December. Whereas,
okay.
So that's a dozen eggs, $4.25 average December. South of here, you can get 30 eggs for $3.
Oh.
So
I'm tempted to do business with the drug cartels if they have eggs.
Well, we were drug cartel. Then we realized eggs are much better. So we smuggle eggs.
I'm happy to report.
I would pay $3 for 30 eggs.
Right.
I'm happy to report the first area I served in elected Marjorie Taylor Greene.
That's acceptable.
That's acceptable. It's no.
Isn't that Wyoming?
No, Georgia, 14th.
Georgia.
Oh, really? Oh, I didn't know she was from
Georgia 14th
Okay, cool.
congressional district. Rep is Marjorie Taylor Greene.
I served my mission in California, so I'm sure they elected great. Oh,
I think you're SOL on that kind of representation. Yeah.
That's all right. I beat Keith in this, so I'll take a happy second place.
Take my victory where I can. Yeah. They have seen here's what also baffles me about this. Customs and Border Protection said they saw an uptick of 108% in egg seizures in the last 3 months of 2022.
Is that like a seizure you have from eating an egg, or
as in they've
seized eggs?
They stopped someone illegally crossing the border, and on this someone, they had whatever number of eggs on their person that Border Patrol seized from them. And it's 108% uptick from the last 3 months, which means that some number of eggs has been illegally crossing the border for some time now.
You want to know some fun egg facts?
That would be excellent if you would share some with us.
You're welcome. The most important egg fact I can give you is that the word egg is not only referencing the delicious food, eggs. It is also a New Zealand slang word for someone who is acting like a dumbass.
The more you know.
Well, that joke just can't be beat.
Just beat it.
Oh, Mike, you're such a practical yoker.
It can be poached, fried, and scrambled, though.
Other food products seizures made by the CBP, the Border Patrol, Customs and Border Patrol, recently include one haul of 484 pounds of bologna and another of 285 pounds of cheese. So they missed the guy with the bread. He got through.
This just reminds me. Did you guys ever see Scooby-Doo and Zombie Island?
Yes.
No.
Yes.
So the beginning of Scooby-Doo Zombie Island, Shaggy and Scooby are working for the CBP in an airport, confiscating contraband, and they go and they eat the entire contraband closet. That's a great show. You should watch it. Anyway,
here's the best part. So each of those violators were fined $1,000. Sadly, hungry border officers aren't able to use the contraband eggs for breakfast sandwiches, as all seized food products have to be incinerated. So food is pouring across our border, and we are burning it so it doesn't get to anybody's home. Well, it could be filled with bad stuff. Yes, because never, ever has there ever been a story broadcast across every news station about reclaiming food items from stores because salmonella or something was in said item.
and never once have we ever complained about a food shortage around the world that leaves people hungry.
Not even once.
Not even once. Everyone is fed well all the time. So well, in fact, that we can just burn food.
Just because.
Just because.
The last bit of federal news here is Kamala Harris.
Oh, yay.
Who I am convinced she is on par with Capsizing Island guy, Hank Smith.
Ooh, is she now?
With the level of dumb that she has.
I'm excited. I'm excited to see
That being said, sometimes when she stays on script, she says exactly what is supposed to be said. This was in Florida at a rally that was supposed to celebrate 50 years of Roe versus Wade, but apparently Obviously, they can't celebrate 50 years of that because it was overturned.
Okay, so they were
Yeah?
they were talking about, they were having an event, maybe not celebrating, but commemorating the anniversary of Roe v. Wade being passed. And because it just got overturned, it is now a somber occasion for the pro-abort out there, including Kamala Harris.
Yes.
Is that okay?
Yes. And this is...
So what did she say?
This is just a little snippet from what she said, and it says a lot. It's 14 seconds here. You ready for this?
Yeah.
Promise we made in the Declaration of Independence that we are each endowed with the right to liberty and the pursuit of happiness.
Now,
she forgot one.
I'm not a constitutional scholar.
She forgot a lot of things in there. She had to pause each time she left something out so that she wouldn't accidentally say it. Did you catch that?
Like I said, she's probably the dumbest person in government right now. But when she stays on script, she says exactly what is supposed to be said. She left out, well, let's hear it one more time.
A promise we made in the Declaration of Independence.
Declaration of Independence.
That we are each endowed
By our Creator.
with the right
with certain
unalienable
rights.
to liberty and the pursuit of happiness.
To life, liberty.
Life. She forgot life.
Yeah, because, you know.
That has to be intentional.
She also forgot Creator.
Pro-abortion rally.
She also forgot Creator.
That's another big one.
Yeah, so in those 14 seconds, she made the point that every pro-life activist has pointed out with constitutional debate on the subject. The Declaration of Independence is the reason why abortion is illegal. Constitution.
Yeah. Well,
and if you dig into it even further, in order to preserve these rights for ourselves and our posterity. Kind of hard to have a posterity if you're destroying the posterity. In which case, why do you preserve the rights?
Well, no. When Roe v. Wade was overturned, I think it was Clarence Thomas, but they threw around the idea of making it illegal across the country constitutionally because we have the right to life. So basically saying that constitutionally, because we have the right to life, we wouldn't be able to enact laws in the state allowing abortion. But of course, the other justices had, again, I'm not 100% sure he's the one that officially made that argument. I would imagine he would have the appetite for it. But the rest of the justices most certainly did not. So we're left with what we have.
I would put money on the fact that it wasn't Richards.
Yeah.
Anyway, no. I love the Declaration of Independence. So since we brought it up, and since Kamala Harris is talking about it, and intentionally left out certain rights we have, and I might add where we get those rights from.
Yes.
I'm going to vent about it because the things that she left out, for one thing,
look, it's a hot key.
Left out.
It's a hot key.
She left out life, which obviously is something she rhetorically wants to leave out at an abortion rally, but also their creator, because she wants to think, and the left broadly likes to think, that our rights come from government.
Yes.
But the problem with that is if the government grants you rights, they can take them away as well.
Yep.
But having unalienable rights given to us by our creator means that the government cannot take those rights away from you. And if they try to take away our unalienable rights, it is our duty to rebel against that government and replace it with a new government. Which, by the way, we're certainly getting there. anyway, yeah, the
steam's vented out.
Hold on, just a second. I just want to say that the tragedy of our society is how many people are rejecting the philosophy behind having a creator. Because when we, from a government laws and a moral point of view, when we undermine our creator, we are also undermining our human rights, because our human rights come from our creator. And if we reject our creator, we are also rejecting our human rights. And our human rights, after we reject our creator, would only come from a government. I don't see another option. And so if people reject our creator and we end up in some sort of authoritarian government state, it's kind of the fault of the people who rejected their creator.
Aside from every time that's happened in history, what evidence do you have that something like that would happen?
Besides that?
Yeah, besides every example.
So besides all of the evidence, what evidence do you have? That sounds like something a CNN reporter would ask.
Yeah, kind of like when they were in Atlanta yesterday, and they thought it worked so well the first time. They were in front of a flipped over, burnt police car, talking about how it's a mostly peaceful protest going on behind them. It's even funnier the second time. I think it was CNN. It was probably someone else, but still. That's our society right there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So.
Sounds about right.
I have one story that popped up real quick from California.
Oh, no.
I think it's how they're going to try to pay for the reparations. A bill was introduced to impose a 1.5% tax on residents' worldwide net worth in excess of $1 billion or $500 million for a married taxpayer filing separately, starting as early as 2024. What's significant about this, it will apply to every resident regardless of whether they are in the state part-time or temporarily. It will also allow the state to pursue wealth taxes from former residents who built their wealth in California but moved.
Former residents? How would they even enforce that?
I don't know, but I really wish I was stupid rich and moved out of California, so when they sent me the tax form, I could tell them, so you're going to send me a ballot too? Well, no, you don't live in the you don't live in the state. We can't send you a ballot. Then I'm not paying any taxes.
Yeah, no kidding. And this is all in the name of equality.
Yes.
And speaking of equality, and another thing, equality. So speaking of tyranny and rejecting our creator and our inalienable rights, I am just amazed at how equality is some kind of like rallying cry for leftists, particularly like average everyday leftists. You know, they're like, no, we need to solve inequality. That is literally impossible, because in order to solve inequality, you literally have to like take things from people. Anyway, like basically, if you are solving inequality, you are begging for tyranny, because equality is basically the opposite of freedom. Like, you cannot have freedom and equality at the same time, because people make different choices and therefore they all get different results, resulting in inequality. Yes. So trying to solve inequality is counter to being free. So those that are trying to solve inequality are begging for tyranny.
Right. And it's you can have equal opportunity, but you cannot have equal outcome.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, do we want the music for this, Mike, or what do you think? I mean, it's historical.
It's historical, sure.
We can do. It's cosmic, even cosmically historical.
We can throw in a little bit of music here.
A little slice.
Yeah, a little slice.
Slice of history coming
here
right at you.
We got a short little slice of history snippet for you.
...2003, Belgium. It's election time. It is the first time that Belgium is using... it's the first time that Belgium is using electronic voting. Now, everything seemed to go smoothly and fine. Everyone was proud of themselves for having a basically flawless election, aside from an occasional kind of foreseen computer glitch here and there that they quickly fixed.
Yeah. I had to look up Belgium on a map. It's right in between Germany and France.
See.
They're famous for their waffles.
Like me.
Famous for their waffles.
In case you
I
didn't.
literally thought it was a city in Germany. But yes,
Yeah.
it is a country.
So,
Anyway.
So they thought it was all fine and dandy, and then they got a phone call from their election officials, basically. The guys that kind of set up the whole computer system. Said, hey, we got an issue here. We tabulated all the votes, and it seemed to be fine. And then we added the votes together, and it added up to more votes than there are people in the town. They're like, oh, yeah, that's an issue. It's an issue. So they hurried over and examined everything they could. They didn't find any evidence of tampering with any of the machines. They didn't find any evidence of software issues, programming issues, hardware issues. They could not find anything wrong with what they set up at all. And all their little tests that they ran quickly showed that it was all functioning correctly. So they hand counted the votes, and they found that the votes had 4,096 extra votes than before.
That does not sound like a random number, Trevor.
No, if you are a tech geek, computer whiz of sorts,
You'll probably laugh at that 4,096 and know exactly what it is.
what is it?
Yeah, I was proud of myself. I actually caught it before they told me what it was. My degree is in math, and so I recognized it. But that is 2 to the 12th. And the reason that is significant is because that is what computers talk in. Like
They talk.
your
they
hard
talk
drive
by
size.
twos.
Yeah, basically. Like all of your hard drive sizes, for some reason, they are to the power of 2. Like a gigabyte is not 1,000 megabytes. It's actually 1,024,
Right.
which is to the 10.
And it also explains why, for the most part, computer technology always doubles in power or size or capacity
Yeah.
or whatever.
Yeah.
Because even though we use ones and zeros to tell the computer what to do, the computer responds with twos.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not a computer guy. I'm more of a math guy, so I don't understand why they talk in this language, but I do recognize that number as 2 to the 12th.
Yeah, so the basic way that this voting machine worked is a vote would be cast, and there's 13 different signals for the computer. A vote would be cast, and that first signal would be lit, and it's 2 to the 0 power, which is 1. Anything to the 0 power is 1. And then the next one would be lit, 2 to the first power, and that would be 2, because 2 times nothing is 2. And then
2 times 1 is...
well,
2.
Yeah, it's 2 times 1.
2 times
2 times nothing is 1.
2 times. Stop it. 2 times 0. I was trying to not say 0, which is why I said nothing. It's just a 2 sitting there. And then
It's actually...
2 to no power is 2, yes.
well, 2 to the first
Well,
is 2.
no, 2 to 1. Anyway, hold on. Let me just explain this real quick. Let me explain this.
Just
I'm a
because you know
professional.
math doesn't mean that we can't stumble across it.
So the reason
He's a math magician.
the way that the way the powers work is that anything to the 0, it just starts with 1.
Yeah. Yes.
So 2 to the 0 is just 1. And then 2 to the 1 is 1 times 2. And then 2 to the 2 is 1 times 2 times 2. And so forth. So that's how that works.
That's how mathematicians work.
That's right.
And it goes on up to 2 to the 12th, which was the 13th. Well, 12 isn't 13. When you add a 0, then you have 13.
We counted the 0. So there are 13. Yeah.
Yeah. So they just chalked that up as the computer just did something weird right then and counted 4,096 extra votes. But we caught it. We fixed it. We're good to go. Except for one person on Parliament, a younger lady, and kind of new to this whole thing. She saw that. She's like, shouldn't that be an issue? Like, I don't know, a big problem?
Yeah. And everyone else on Parliament and everywhere for that matter was saying, oh, no, it's not an issue. Just move on. Don't investigate. It's fine.
We caught it. We fixed it. It's fine. Whatever. And she decides to dig into it, and she finds, well, IBM did this whole research on computers with glitches and having weird firing of signals and all this stuff. And IBM found that the closer a computer was to space, the more oddities the computer had in what it did.
Yeah, well, that was more of an anecdote, but yeah, like Earth is bombarded with cosmic rays from space all the time. But yes, as you increase in elevation, there are more cosmic rays, and so it is more likely that this error would happen more often.
Yes. And so using that, IBM determined that, hey, sometimes computers make mistakes because, well, space intervenes. Sometimes.
Yeah.
So she did all this research and took the findings to Parliament and said, hey, I think what happened there was somehow a charged cosmic ray. Basically, a sun blew up thousands and millions of light years away. And on May 13th, 2003, whenever it was, one of those charged particles hit exactly on the part of the computer that would fire for that 4,096 votes.
Yeah, well, it's not like this is a 1 in a trillion odd chance.
It is.
Because we have these cosmic rays hitting us all the time.
You can say, though, the odds are astronomical.
Yeah.
That was terrible. Your jokes are
well,
bad.
that took me a second to get.
I've only been waiting all day to deliver that line.
What he hasn't told you is it took him 2 hours of research before he actually came up with that joke.
Worth it.
Was it in a galaxy far, far away a long time? No.
It was.
A long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, and the sun exploded.
Yes. Cosmic dealings here. So since the IT guys could not explain it at all, they determined, I guess that's probably what happened, because that's the only thing that makes sense. She delivered her findings to Parliament. Parliament laughed her off, like, space rays, they're going to change computers. Yeah, whatever. And she flipped it around on them. And she said, can you guarantee that this cannot and has not happened before? And Parliament laughed her off, except for the Prime Minister, who actually thought about it as, no, I can't. And she brought up the point of, this one was caught because it was 4,096. What would happen if it's 32 votes here, 8 votes there, 4 votes here? Would you catch that? Huh. How many votes did Joe Biden get? No reason I'm asking. I'm just curious. Just popped in my head. It's not related at all. I don't know why I thought of that.
Yeah, sure you don't.
Because, the odds of a man staying in his basement for an entire election cycle and having basically nobody show up to any of his rallies, winning with the most votes possible are...
Yeah.
Those are some odds.
Biden allegedly got the most votes in history, and Trump, on that very election, got the second most votes in history. What a coincidence.
Yeah. Yeah. Are you saying this is what happened with 2020 or 2022? I don't know. Because we're apparently not allowed to investigate any of this.
Yeah. Well,
but that being said, the odds of being attacked by a penguin in your home are slim, but never zero.
Yeah. Well, I think it's plausible that this bit flip is something that caused the 44,096 votes, whatever. And they did fix the issue, didn't they?
Yes. Since they caught it, they were able to fix it.
Yeah.
That being said, you actually can't fix the bit flip.
Yeah.
Like it's not a fixable issue. And in fact, the smaller and more powerful our computers get, the worse the problem gets. A modern day supercomputer has one of these glitches roughly every... one of the articles I was looking at was saying like every 10 to 17 hours.
Right. And those are the ones that they catch.
Yeah.
Because like her point was, they caught this because they counted the votes and it was more than there are actual people able to vote. So something happened here. Whereas if something like this happens, if they counted all the votes, they're like, wow, we had a 99% turnout. That's pretty great. Did they actually have a 99% turnout?
Unprecedented. Yeah. But no, the reason I find this story interesting is not because of the plausibility of this bit flipping actually causing issues. Because in the podcast that all three of us listened to, they also talked about how the same phenomenon caused a plane to switch off of autopilot.
Yes.
Yeah.
And also I believe it was Toyota cars, it caused a recall where some people were not able to control the gas. The car would just keep accelerating. And they could use the brake, but it wasn't enough because the car would continue accelerating.
Yeah, you had to shift it in neutral and then hit the brake.
It caused something like 80 or 90 deaths, the Toyota thing, which caused a recall. And so, the people that delivered this podcast, they weren't right-wing podcasters that are saying, oh, this is voter fraud or whatever. They were just more they were delivering it in isn't this interesting? This is a phenomenon that we're just not aware about, and it causes issues in our modern life. And they gave 3 anecdotal examples of this bit flipping phenomenon causing problems in our everyday life. And I do think that it's plausible that the bit flipping is what caused those 3 issues. But here's the thing, is I could also see it being used as an excuse for something like this intentionally happening in voter fraud and be like, oh, gee, what? And basically escape accountability for it. It's like, oh, gee, how did that happen? Oh, I guess it was a glitch. The bit flipping must have happened, if they're ever caught for something like this.
Right.
Anyway, that was a conclusion that I came to, but not that anyone has tried to make that excuse. But I do think that the overall conclusion is, my gosh, these computers are not reliable. Let's stop using them.
Let's go back to paper ballots. That seemed to have worked for a few hundred years. A couple hundred years.
Yeah.
It seems to be fine. One thing I thought was interesting, too, because I was initially thinking, well, if we have some type of Faraday cage or whatever around it, that should help it. Nope, Faraday cages don't work for these kinds of things. You need, according to this one article, you need 10 10 feet of concrete to shield devices from these particles hitting them.
Anyway,
so it's just a thing.
So
it's just a thing.
I did think that this was an interesting phenomenon, for sure.
Yeah.
But I think that someone hacking a voting machine or them programming, like cheating into the voting machine in the first place, I think those are much bigger threats than actual bit flipping.
Yes,
affecting our
a much
election.
higher chance of something like that happening. Yes.
Well, I mean, honestly, how hard would it be to program a bit flip into something like that?
Yeah, exactly. They could have the
exactly. Yeah,
like where when X happens, it turns on this other bit at the same time. Like, how difficult would that be?
Yeah.
And then
so if you get caught, you can just blame it on a bit flip.
Right.
Yeah,
and that's not to say that that's ever happened or anything like that, but it's an interesting thought. This is a really interesting thing, and it explains so many issues that everybody has with computers and why the turn it off and turn it back on works so well all the freaking time.
It's true.
Turn it off, turn it back on. Well, now we know why.
It's working now. Yep.
It's because the space
So
was
it
interfering
is a
with
phenomenon. Well, maybe I didn't get the sense that it was messing with our everyday computers that much.
No, it totally is.
They did say that
the other article that we have talks about it. They call it SEUs, single event upsets.
Oh,
and it happens. It happens fairly often across all kinds of stuff.
Didn't you say like every 12 hours or whatever?
Yeah. So the examples of a plane dropping out of autopilot and stuff like that, they're pretty extreme examples. A more typical problem that is usually caused by one of these types of events is like your computer or your smartphone freezing or being forced into a reboot state, or any one of the number of micro issues that we have with computers all of the time. Those are all examples of possible or potential what they call SEUs, which is the single event upsets, which are caused by this.
Yeah,
and it becomes more and more prominent as computers become, like I said, as the
smaller,
semiconductors and the processors and the memory and all this, as that becomes smaller, more compact, and more powerful, it becomes more prominent that these things happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this article from Independent points out that one way that NASA is protecting their spacecraft, because you got the space station and whatever else up in space, not really shielded by Earth's atmosphere anymore, to help reduce these SEUs. So they have a triplicate system of processors that communicate with each other to vote on any decision. So if they say that the probability that SEUs will occur in two of the circuits at the same time is vanishingly small. So if two circuits produce the same result, it should be correct. So they have three circuits there. If at least two of the three are giving the same command or the same result, then it goes with that one instead of just
other
relying
words,
on one.
to summarize that, in the mouths of two or three witnesses, shall every code be established?
Who knew that NASA needed the Bible to get to space? And with that, I think that's a good place to end it.
I think it's a great place to end it. That is...
All right, that's fine.
Great.
That has been this week's episode and a small slice of history. Don't forget to do all of the things.
Like, subscribe, follow us, retweet us. I say some funny things every now and then.
Say some funny things.
Keith gets on and makes good points, makes valid points, actually tries. I don't, but I say funny things every now and then.
I get in and hop onto hashtag bandwagons right as they're ending.
That's a fun way to do it.
It's a great follow. It's worth your time. I swear.
I swear.
By the moon and the stars.
Okay. That's enough of that.
Bye.
Bye.
Fabulous. And the button is red.
The button is red. What else is about the button?
It's not green.
I know it's not green, but what else is about it?
It's green.
I can't see it, so I don't know what color it is. For all I know, you guys could be messing with me.
Have you ever seen Kid History?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was one of their
The green pancakes.
The green pancakes. I know they are green, but what else is about it? Great times.
All right.
Any Hooters.
So the articles, Keith, are in no particular order at all. So how they
I'll follow you.
How they are is how they are.
That's what I plan on doing
They're
tonight.
pulled up on my computer.
Excellent.
Most excellent.
Excellent.
Yes. So,
without further ado,
is that it? Are we starting now?
I mean, I think now is as good a time as any to get started.
Is it?
Excuse me.
What about my
believe-
red stapler?
I believe you need to hit the start button.
He took my red stapler. He did not give it back.